I'm CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger. I am the designated chef in the family, and it's kind of a drag to have to think about what am I going to do, then I have to go get it, then I have to prepare it. There's a lot of stuff, many steps, and time is short in this household. So I was so delighted to find Wild Alaskan Company's wild-caught seafood. It's easy to cook, so you can experience restaurant-quality seafood at home. And there's a great variety. There's coho salmon and sockeye salmon. I really like the Pacific cod and the Pacific halibut quite a bit. And not only is it great variety, but there is perfectly portioned seafood that gets delivered to your door. Right now, get $15 off your first box of wild-caught seafood when you visit wildalaskancompany.com/CBSPod. That's wildalaskancompany.com/CBSPod for $15 off your first box.
Promise to build the Gulf Coast stronger.
A roof that is more resistant to higher winds, more resistant to hurricanes.
Vaccine complication.
Delay for the Moderna booster.
Ex-Cardinal plea in sex assault case.
McCarrick is the tip of the iceberg.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Jennifer Kuiper in Chicago. President Biden tours Louisiana areas damaged by Hurricane Ida. CBS's Stephen Portnoy.
After touring damaged homes in Laplace, Louisiana, the president accused insurance companies of shirking their responsibilities, not paying for additional living expenses in places where evacuations were voluntary, not mandatory.
The insurance companies are saying, no, we won't pay you what we owe.
The White House says two companies, Allstate and USAA, have now agreed to pay. Noting lingering power outages, Mr. Biden urged the laying of new underground electric lines.
We got to not just build back to what it was, put the same old poles up. We got to build back better.
Stephen Portnoy, CBS News.
WCBS's Sean Adams in New York with the cleanup after deadly floods and tornadoes.
Here in flood-prone Mamaroneck, the air is thick with a damp, musty odor. In the low-lying sections, curbside, there are mountains of soggy flood debris, mattresses, dressers, treadmills, appliances, and clothing. Vinny Calderola owns a building with a restaurant on the ground floor. 16 feet of water from the basement almost up to the second floor.
Since 12 o'clock yesterday afternoon, they just finished pumping now. So now we got to get everything that's in the basement or on the first floor, throw it out. We got to wait for the inspectors to come for the insurance.
This is his fourth flood over the past 2 decades. There is an Army Corps of Engineers plan to address river flooding here, but government action has been slow.
The U.S. COVID booster plan faces a complication.
While the Pfizer booster is on track to get the go-ahead this month, Moderna's booster will not. Data submitted by the company was found to be inadequate. CBS's Dr. David Agus.
The booster shots are needed as high levels of immunity are required for particularly the Delta variant of the virus. 6% of immunity is lost per month.
Another factor making boosters necessary, the rise in so-called breakthrough cases, people who've gotten the vaccine also getting COVID. Steve Futterman, CBS News.
The U.S. adds 235,000 jobs in August, way below analysts' expectations. CBS business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
The silver lining in this report is that the previous 2 months were revised higher. With the revisions, employment in June and July combined for 134,000 more jobs than previously reported.
On Wall Street, the Dow closed down 75 points, NASDAQ up 32. In response to a question about the new abortion law in Texas banning most procedures around 6 weeks, President Biden says he has always been and continues to be a strong supporter of Roe v. Wade.
The most pernicious thing about the Texas law is sort of creates a vigilante system where people get rewards to go out to, anyway. And it just seems, I know this sounds ridiculous, almost un-American.
The president spoke before heading to Louisiana. Winds have eased over the last 24 hours as the Caldor fire near South Lake Tahoe grew by about 800 acres. Cal West Zone Operations Chief Tim Ernst says firefighters have gotten a hold on the path of the wildfire and remain engaged in containing it.
We are still finding hot spots, so we'll maintain a firefighter presence here probably for the next week or two, just to make sure that there's nothing that will get away from us along this whole side.
You're listening to the CBS World News Roundup, Late Edition. Ex-Cardinal Theodore McCarrick pleads not guilty to child sex abuse charges. CBS's Christina Hager.
Advocates for abuse survivors spoke outside court.
McCarrick is the tip of the iceberg. There are 46 bishops in the United States accused of child abuse.
The court entered a not guilty plea on behalf of the 91-year-old and ordered him to have no contact with minors. This is the first criminal trial against McCarrick. He also faces numerous civil suits. Christina Hager, CBS News, Dedham, Massachusetts.
A holiday weekend has travelers heading to airports in Los Angeles.
Masks are there to protect us, so I think everyone should wear their mask.
Roseanne Edwards also brought along face shields since she's traveling with a granddaughter too young to vaccinate. Earlier this week, the CDC urged people who are not vaccinated to avoid traveling this weekend, and if they do, to take added precautions.
That is KCBS's TV's Kara Finstrom. Ski and driving don't mix unless it's to help the environment. CBS's Tina Kraus with more on Glenfiddich using waste to power its trucks.
Researchers in Edinburgh came up with the concept of using whiskey residue to power vehicles.
In the production of whiskey, less than 10% of what comes out of the distillery is actually the primary product.
The rest is known as draff. The spent barley grains and leftover liquid combine to create an eco-friendly biofuel.
So we now have vehicles that we can use to transport our goods and our spirits around the country that comes from a renewable source and is ultra low carbon.
Alice Cooper will be one of the grand marshals for the Fiesta Bowl parade on December 18th in Phoenix. The Fiesta Bowl is New Year's Day in Glendale, Arizona. That's the World News Roundup Late Edition for Friday, September 3rd, 2021. This broadcast produced by James Hutton and Diane James. I'm Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News.
This is CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger. Something great has happened for me this summer. I have discovered Annie's Kit Clubs, and I sent them to a few of my nieces who have kids who were so psyched to get these amazing start of the summer projects. There was card maker, knit striped Afghan, simply beads, lots more. Kits are designed for every level of crafter, and we got a lot of them in our family. These were high quality, interactive, great summertime projects for kids ages 7 to 12. Don't just take my word for it. Annie's has over 60,000 five-star reviews with one member writing, quote, "I would highly recommend Annie's membership. They have something for everyone." As a special offer, get your first kit for 75% off. Just go to annieskitclubs.com/CBS. That's annieskitclubs.com/CBS.